Today, we're cracking open a massive medical mystery, one that's fundamentally changing how we view human biology. We are diving into two groundbreaking discoveries that are completely rewriting the rulebook on how we understand and potentially cure pain. So, let's just get right into it.
I want you to ground yourself in this concept for just a second. Imagine your house has a fire alarm. It goes off when there's smoke, right? You put out the fire, the smoke clears, and the alarm shuts off. Simple. But what happens if the fire is gone? The house is perfectly safe, but that piercing, deafening alarm just keeps ringing and ringing and ringing, and you literally can't find the off switch. Well, that broken alarm system, it's not just a metaphor. It is the daily, grueling reality for nearly 60 million Americans. 60 million. That's a staggering number, representing millions of lives disrupted by a biological warning system that simply refuses to power down. For decades, science basically treated all pain the same. Actually, scratch that, they thought acute and chronic pain were just different intensities of the exact same process. But let's contrast them. Acute pain is your necessary warning system. You touch a hot stove, your hand pulls back. It's absolutely vital for your survival. But chronic pain? That is the malfunctioning alarm. It's pain that persists for months or even years, long after an injury is completely healed. Assuming these two are the same was a foundational error, and as we're about to see, that assumption was completely wrong.
Section 1. The macroscopic reveal. The hidden brain circuit.
In a truly stunning piece of research published in the journal Nature, scientists at Stanford University zoomed out to map the brain on a macroscopic level. And what they found was shocking. Listen to how Jiaqi Chen, the senior author of the Stanford study, puts it. He said, "A surprise to us was that acute pain and chronic pain can be completely separate." I really want you to let that sink in. Good pain, the kind that protects you, and bad pain, the kind that tortures you, literally use completely different wiring in the body. They are not the same thing.
The Stanford team used genetic labeling to map out this dedicated, separate circuit. And if you follow this looping path, it begins down in the spinal cord, shoots all the way up through the thalamus, the cortex, and the brainstem, and then loops right back down to the spinal cord. This is the literal, physical pathway of chronic pain. It's like a massive, hidden highway dedicated purely to keeping that alarm ringing.
So what happens when you mess with this circuit? The researchers tested this on mice. When they chemically silenced this specific loop, the results were absolutely incredible. The mice stopped overreacting to a gentle touch. Their chronic pain symptoms simply vanished. But here is the kicker. Their acute pain reflexes stayed totally intact. They could still sense immediate harm and pull away, but the chronic, lingering pain was gone. And conversely, just activating this circuit in healthy mice was enough to induce a full-blown chronic pain state. No injury required. The crucial takeaway here is that chronic pain is essentially a severe misinterpretation. It's your brain taking a normal, safe signal, like a gentle touch or just the brush of clothing against your skin, and amplifying it through this hidden highway until it registers as active, burning danger. The brain is quite literally tricking the body.
Part 2. The microscopic reveal. The cellular pain switch.
Okay, so we've looked at the massive macroscopic highway of the brain, but a revolutionary study from Tulane University, published in Science, zoomed all the way down into the microscopic space between individual cells. They discovered something called VLK, or vertebrate lonesome kinase. Now, this enzyme doesn't stay inside the cell. It actually gets released outside the nerve cells, into the space between them, where it acts as a physical lock-and-key switch to turn on pain signaling right after an injury. Matthew Dalva, the director of the Tulane Brain Institute, hit the nail on the head when describing the magnitude of this. He said, "This finding changes our fundamental understanding of how neurons communicate, because for a long time, we thought that to change a cell's behavior, especially regarding pain, you had to get inside the cell. But Dalva's team proved that cells are controlling pain signaling and interaction from the outside." When researchers tested this out on mice, the results were definitive. With normal VLK levels, mice felt your standard post-surgery pain. But notice what happened when researchers removed VLK from the pain-sensing neurons.
the mice felt zero post-surgery pain. None. And yet, they moved around perfectly normally and had normal sensation otherwise. Then, when they added extra VLK, the pain responses completely skyrocketed. This mechanism is known as phosphorylation. Essentially, the enzyme chemically tags proteins on the outside of other cells to change how they behave. This VLK enzyme boosts pain receptor functions by altering those extracellular proteins. But here is the absolute most fascinating part of this whole thing. This process doesn't just control pain. It miraculously shares the exact same molecular mechanisms with how our brains learn and form memories. The way neurons strengthen connections to remember a fact is strikingly similar to how they strengthen connections to remember pain.
Part 3. A new era of relief. Synthesis.
By bringing Stanford's macroscopic circuit together with Tulane's microscopic VLK switch, we're basically unlocking an entirely new era of medicine. For decades, our traditional approach to chronic pain has relied heavily on drugs like opioids, and those are basically shotgun approaches. They have to enter the cells, they cross-wiring, they dampen the good acute pain right along with the bad chronic pain. And as we tragically know, they carry a massive risk of severe addiction and dependency. But future drugs? Because of these discoveries, we can build sniper rifle treatments. Drugs that act safely outside the cell, entirely targeting just the chronic pain mechanisms.
This is the ultimate solution we're working toward, creating drugs that specifically target that VLK enzyme from the outside, or drugs that pinpoint and disrupt the newly mapped Stanford brain circuit. We can finally turn off the malfunctioning alarm. And by doing this, we preserve the body's vital, protective, acute pain reflexes, and we completely bypass the biological mechanisms that lead to opioid dependency. It's a win on every conceivable front.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. We started off by talking about 60 million people living with a broken alarm system. Well, science is finally showing us exactly where the wires are and exactly where the off switch is hidden. If we can finally turn off that chronic pain switch, how will that change the lives of those millions waiting for relief? Imagine a world where pain is just a warning again and no longer a life sentence. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep wondering, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.